Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast. We're sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Goebel Septic, and Americool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined by the Chronicle Sports Guys, Dylan Wilhelm and Zach Martin. What a weekend it was across the state. Softball and tennis tournaments are in the books, as are the first two rounds of the state baseball tournaments. We'll start where we must, though, in Yakima, where the Adna softball team completed the three-peat. Just going to let the applause go. Folks, people are asking, between the softball state championship and the unprecedented individual state golf championship from Trevin Salmi, is Adna now title town? Your thoughts?
I mean, it's hard to disagree with that take. It's a fine take.
I spot no lies. Dylan?
I have no issue with that.
Title town. Population, Trevin Salmi, and also the softball team.
I was about to say, I think a basketball or volleyball title might have, helped the cause.
Let's not talk about the past.
Anyways.
Yeah. But, all right. So, we're starting in Yakima. Adna confirmed good. The Pirates defeated Warden, Kittitas, Puyallup Valley, and Freeman to capture their 12th title in school history, become just the fourth Washington school to three-peat, and become the first 2B school to three-peat. Zach was there. He talked to a whole lot of happy Pirates afterwards. Zach, what were your impressions of Adna, which Adna went in as, the 3 seed?
They were the 3 seed, yeah.
And they beat, what was Puyallup Valley?
2. They were
and
the
Freeman
2 seed.
was the 1.
Freeman was the 1, yeah.
Freeman is the 1 seed. That's just wild to me.
They beat the 14 seed Warden, which was the state championship rematch, and then they beat number 6 seed Kittitas, which that was a semifinal rematch from last year. Then they beat PWV, which was a quarterfinal rematch and semifinals last year. So it just went backwards, right. Which I find. I even asked Pac about that. He goes, "That's just an oddity." And then he brought up the seeding committee and D4 dominance, which we'll get into later. Straight up, Adna played their best softball of the year at the perfect time to do it. And I think we all kind of felt like maybe that game against Raymond South Bend was a one-off. Like, I didn't think they would play that bad again. And Dylan, I think you probably would agree that they didn't think they'd play that bad again. But it was a matter of how quickly they were going to flush that and turn it into a potential state title. And they played really well. Couple early bumps against Kittitas and Warden just early, but they shook it off. Came back with 6 or 7 runs in the top of 6 against PWV, all with 2 outs, and then they led wire to wire against Freeman. Alyssa Carroll, probably the MVP of the tournament for Adna. Over 12 RBIs total, 2 home runs. But if you want to talk about probably the most underrated storyline of that day is Pocklington putting in 8th grader Tegan Bagenstos, who had not pitched at all in the playoffs outside of the meaningless 3rd place game against Adna Districts, relieves Avery LaFontaine, who was struggling in the semifinal. Tegan throws 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, no walks, 4 strikeouts, completely shuts down PWV, which had been, in my opinion, the best offense at state. Mm-hmm. And that was, I thought, as soon as that happened, I'm like, I don't think Adna's losing the state title.
That was a semifinal
against PWV. Yeah, that is bold.
That's bold, but it's also it's a kind of a savvy move to throw somebody that just throw a new look in there at PL Valley.
Yeah, it was.
If
savvy.
They've been hitting the crap out of the ball, then give them something else to try to hit off of.
I think it's kind of an argument for the 3rd place game too. Not just but I know coaches who kind of joke sometimes that are like, all right, the 3rd, 4th game, especially on the baseball side because of the arms and pitch counts and whatnot. But it's like, all right, 3rd, 4th game, we're both in state. Do we really got to be here another 4 or 5 hours?
Right.
But Pocklington told me immediately after they won the game to get to the 3rd place game, he's like, we're going to throw an 8th grader, of course referring to Tegan. He's like, we're going to throw her. She needs some innings, and this is a good environment for her against a tough team. And, obviously that paid off. You wonder, had she not gotten that experience, maybe it goes the same exact way. Maybe she just, comes in, deals. But it certainly doesn't hurt to have that type of experience against, a fellow state team in what ended up being Napvine, if I remember correctly,
Yeah, it was
at districts.
Napvine.
So, and she threw well in that game too. So,
And it helped Avery pitch better in the state title game, because if Avery had to go the distance against PWV, who knows what happens against Freeman? And so Avery, struggling, but getting that rest and recovery like that, I think that helped too, because I thought in the state title game was Avery's best performance, top to bottom, of the season probably.
So who else were some of the stars for Adna this weekend?
So Carol, Tegan, Avery, Danica Hallam, consistent as always.
Right.
Defensively, I was really impressed with Lena McCloskey in center field. She turned a double play in the title game. Kendall Humphrey turned a double play. They were just really good defensively in the semifinal and championship. They were a little shaky the first two games, but they settled down defensively in the last two. So those were two of the, defensively, I thought Lena and Kendall played very well.
All right. Question: Avery LaFontaine. Who are the seniors on this Adna team?
Just four. So Hallam, Gabby Gard, Kendall Humphrey, and Carson Freeman.
Okay. So Adna's going to have potentially, 3 pitchers next year?
3, yes. There is, because Britton Dollarhide will probably move to shortstop, is what Pac told me. He was like, she'd start at shortstop for a lot of teams for almost all the other teams in the league, and I think she throws too. And as far as I know, there is another pitcher coming up the pipeline that is another lefty. I think will be an 8th grader next year, so she could be in the mix for some innings too. But yeah, so they'll have 3 of the 4 infielders back: Carol at third, Chloe Hunt at first, Hadley Gerard at second, and then they'll have McCloskey as the one outfielder. So they'll have to fill 2 outfield spots, catcher and shortstop.
Okay. All right. Yeah, a lot of pitchers. Okay. Let's see. Also at the Gateway Sports Complex were the Toledo Riverhawks and the Peel Willapa Valley Titans, who finished 3rd and 4th after both reaching the state semifinals. Toledo came in as a, 11 seed?
12 seed.
12 seed for the second year in a row, and they made another run to the semifinals. But this year, they won their final 2 games to finish 3rd. Zach talked with Jeff Davis afterwards. How was that?
I think the best victory of the weekend for me was I got 2 Jeff Davis interviews, and both under 5 minutes.
Really? You talked to Jeff Davis, the Toledo softball coach, and then the ghost of your hero, Jefferson Davis.
Who's Jefferson Davis?
Never mind.
Okay. He can't be my hero if I don't know who he is. My hero is my father.
Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy.
Are you saying I'm a Confederate?
Anyway,
you think I'm a right-wing nut?
How was your talk with Jeff Davis?
Toledo softball coach.
The softball coach, not the Confederate. Jeff was very happy. He really emphasized the resiliency and the fight of this team. They came back in the round of 16 against Liberty Spangle, and then they met again in that consolation semifinal that was winner to third place. Winner will trophy, loser out. Same kind of situation. 4 runs in the top of the 7th in the opening round, 4 runs on top of 7th in the consolation semi over Liberty that got them to that third place game, and then they just poured it on offensively in that third place game. So Jeff was very happy about just the fight, resiliency, the toughness of this group, which only has 1 senior, 1 junior. I mean, it is sophomore and freshman heavy, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with as long as they're healthy for the next couple of years.
All right. And then another top 4 finish for Peel Willapa Valley. They finished 3rd last year, placing 4th this season. You talked to Eric Hopfer afterwards. How was he doing?
He was good. He basically was pretty blunt in saying that he wants this group to kind of feel this sour taste of finishing 4th, because I think in his mind, and probably a lot of other people's minds, is outside of Raymond, South Bend, and Adna, we probably figured that PWV would go far in, amongst District 4 and potentially even get to a state title game. So he was like, I want this sour taste to linger in these girls' mouths, and come in for 2026 with with a renewed fire. And that's a group that only loses 3 seniors in Brooklyn King, Madison Merkel, and Lorelei Smodget. So The entire infield is back. 2 of the outfield spots are back, and then Eliza Barnum, their ace pitcher, will be back. So that's a team that could it has all the tools to get right back to the spot next year.
All right, and our final local team at Gateway was Napavine. They went 1-2. Both losses were by just 1 run. Any thoughts on the Tigers? How'd they look? Were they just happy to be there, or were they bummed out they lost?
A little combo of both. Josh Fay was who was still on the hot seat.
Yeah, people are talking.
He was basically saying like it takes a lot to get to Saturday, and they're 2 runs away from being, playing on Saturday and potentially being a medal, leaving with the trophy. But this is their first time there since 2017, I believe. So like of all these girls, like this is their first time playing in a state softball tournament. So I think the experience ended up helping them, will end up helping them for next year. They only lose 2 seniors in Grace Pancake and I'm blanking on the other senior's name. Ellie Gilbert. So I think that's probably wrong. I don't know, but it's 2 seniors. So all like the heavy hitters like Hayden Cowd, Hannah Fay, Taylor Evander, Clara Fay, Dakota Lyons, who was a pitcher this year that really stepped up and pitched well in the 2 state games that she was called upon when Hannah was struggling. So that's I've said it with Pete. We've said it with Adna, Toledo, PWV, Napavine. Like a lot of these teams are still really young and still gaining experience. That next year they could be all 4 in my opinion could be contenders for some hardware.
All right, I'm just taking a look at the bracket. I didn't realize just how prolific Pueblo Valley's offense was.
Yeah.
They won 21-11, 28-5, lost 8-13, and then won 19-5. And I guess they only scored 13 in the 3rd, 4th place game.
Only 13.
Score lots. It's a lot of runs. Man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they teed off on
everybody,
pretty much every pitcher
except for the Adna 8th grader. All right.
Right.
So close by in Sela was the 2A state tournament where Tumwater made the semifinals before eventually finishing 4th. It's Tumwater's 3rd top 4 finish in the last 4 seasons. Always a bridesmaid for the T-Birds. They lost to Aberdeen in a semifinal, and the Bobcats went out to top Port Angeles in the title game for their first championship ever. Dylan was there, and should we toot our own horns? We were dead right on predicting this bracket by saying it's going to go chalk because the pitching is good.
Yeah.
And what happened was it went
so
chalk because
pitching was so good.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the opposite of the 2B bracket where the 2Bs there was a lot of runs and maybe a little chaos, and then this one they're like, no.
Just straight.
We know what this is.
Straight domination.
So
you know what you're getting.
It's top seeded Aberdeen with Grand Canyon commit Lily Camp. Tumwater was the top seed. Aberdeen ended up winning. So Tumwater, Ella Ferguson, Sac State, Aberdeen, Lily Camp, Grand Canyon, Mark Morris,
Mackenzie Henthorne.
Thank you, Montana.
And then what is Port
Heidi
Angeles?
Lights, Port Angeles, St. Martin's. How she's going D2, I have no idea. That was one of the best pitching performances I ever saw. While Tumwater was facing Aberdeen in a semi, on the other field, I went and just kind of checked. You got to get the blood flowing a little bit. Chat with Jordan Allen a little bit. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're in the 6th inning. It's a perfect game, and she struck out 14.
It's pretty good.
She ended up pitching a perfect game, a 1-0 Port Angeles win over Mark Morris in a semi, 19 strikeouts.
Not bad.
Game. Oh, my goodness.
Looking at these games, so Port Angeles won their opener 10-0. Then they beat Woodland 8-1. They beat Mark Morris 1-0, and then they lost 2-1 to Aberdeen. So she gave up, 3 runs in 4 games.
Oh, and Mark Hawthorne, was it the Mark Morris name?
Henthorne.
Henthorne. It was the 1-0 loss to Port Angeles. That was an unearned run. She struck out 12 and gave up 2 hits and lost 1-0.
Yeah, and
Tough
Henthorne went shutout, gave up 1 to Archbishop Murphy, gave the unearned run to Port Angeles, and then how did they round up? They beat Linden 8-5, so she really fell off there towards the end. And then they beat Tumwater 14-1. So
yeah, so
good pitching.
Tumwater, I guess they cruised their first couple matchups, and then Lily Camp just was on one in that semi. Tumwater actually, so they ended up beating Woodland 4-2 in a consolation semi. That game was 1-0 through 6. Ella Ferguson got taken out after 3 innings. I was just kind of in the back of my head thinking like, oh, Tumwater's just going to kind of pour on here at any point. It may not be a run rule just because it's only 1-0 right now in the 4th, but, we'll get to that. All of a sudden, Woodland gets 2 across in the top of the 7th, and I'm sitting there saying, holy cow, Tumwater might not get a trophy at all as the top seed. So, bottom of the 7th, they're down 2-1. A walk, steal for second, bunt the girl to third. The Woodland catcher, bunt to second, steal third, sorry. The Woodland catcher on the steal to third, she tries to throw her out, obviously, as one does. Airmails it. The shortstop backs her up. And on the throw, the shortstop was just trying to get the ball back to the pitcher. The shortstop airmails the pitcher. The ball goes into the dugout. Tying run scores.
It's rough.
And I was like, well, now they're screwed. Like, you're not beating Tumwater doing that. Sure enough, a few batters later, Marissa LaPrame, absolutely just tanks a double down the line. They end up playing Mark Morris. I mean, at that point, Tumwater's just out of gas. It's hot out there. They really put all their energy into that Aberdeen game. And then they obviously had to kind of come up with a rally that I'm sure they didn't expect to have to do against Woodland. You get to the Mark Morris game, you could tell they're just tired.
Yeah.
And
I think my favorite part of the 3rd place game was your tweets about Ferguson coming out and like she's hugging every teammate and coach. And then you're like, oh, but wait, she's still gonna at bat, and then she hits a home run, and then she comes back into the circle.
Yeah.
She pitches again. I thought that was a wild timeline of
I didn't
events.
see it. I actually used the restroom in between innings, and I come back out, and Ella's in the circle, and I was like, kind of what happened? And someone's like, oh, yeah, she could have just took the ball out of her teammate's hands and then went back into the circle. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard. Also, shout out Ella Ferguson. She was obviously emotional after one of that team's, they have 7 seniors. She was pretty emotional, still took a few minutes to chat with me, even though she didn't have to. But yeah, so shout out to her for just kind of taking a few minutes. I'm sure she didn't want to in that moment, but yeah.
All right.
She far from done. Obviously, I'm sure they would have liked that state title, but she'll be going to Sac State to play D1 ball.
One other bracket we don't have on the list here, but 1A softball over in Richland.
Yes.
Rochester.
State
First
champion.
ever state championship game.
Appearance.
They beat Kashmir. They're the 7th seed. Beat Kashmir 8-1. They beat Royal 3-1. Royal was the 2 seed. That was kind of the big upset for them. Then they knocked off Cedar Park Christian in the semifinals and wound up facing Montesano. You go all that way to play
Montesano,
your league rival Montesano. Montesano's won how many
They've
state titles?
They've won a lot. Yeah, they've won a lot of 1As.
It's a sneaky big amount of championships for Montesano softball. But yeah, they lost to Montesano 10-5, but pretty good playoff run for Rochester.
100%.
Oh, that's a fantastic.
Weren't they like? It was a question if they'd make districts at one point, or
no? You're talking
was
about
last
You're
year.
thinking of last year.
okay, I'm thinking of last year.
This year they were the number 1 seed in districts.
Okay, all right. Well,
so
last year they went from a play-in to the pigtail to state. This year, obviously. And
yeah, their first year down to 1A this year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as soon as we saw they were going down to 1A, I mean, I remember talking about this at the beginning of the year in football, in basketball, like across the board, just being like, I'm excited to see these teams in 1A,
Right.
against, you don't have to go up against Tumwater WFS 2 or 3 times a year in every
No,
sport.
just a bunch of cake teams.
Elmas and
Montesano.
Montesano, yeah.
Right. Yeah, just a bunch of cake eaters. No, a hell of a run by Rochester. That's a group with a lot of seniors, passionate about the game of softball, and to at least get to a state championship game and finish with the runner-up finish. Like that's one heck of a season.
All right. Goebel Septic. This podcast is brought to you by Goebel Septic, providing septic service and portable sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. Goebel Septic provides septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, and they will rent you a porta potty and a sink to go with it. Dylan, you don't need any of their services right this second, do you?
Not at the moment, no.
Teriyaki hasn't been hitting just yet.
Not yet.
Visit GoebelSeptic.com.
It's a game time decision, but we're good.
Or give them a call at 360-736-2167. We move on to state baseball, where things were not quite as fortuitous as they were on the softball
less
diamond.
successful.
This was a bummer.
Do we have the? Never mind.
The what?
I want a diamond ring
Well, that was
Well,
not
that
I
one.
Well, I mean,
I was going for the womp womp womp.
We have it there.
I don't know which button it is.
I'm afraid to touch these. They're programmed for news dump. Nope.
There we go. Third time's a charm. Unlike for any of these teams.
I didn't want to hit the I didn't want to hit the Jim Walsh. I'll hit it anyway.
I'm a dog. I'm a dirty dog.
It's a little
No
news
one,
dump humor.
no
for
one
you.
was a dirty dog for baseball in District 4.
All right, 5 area teams entered and all 5 left before reaching the final 4. In the 2As, number 4 WFS beat number 13 Chief Self 2-0 in the first round, but then they were knocked out by Othello in the quarterfinals 14-8. WFS led 14-8. Jesus. WFS led that game 5-0. It was tied at 8 going into the 7th before Othello blew it open. Rube was there, but he is not here, so we will never know his takes. You guys have got to quit writing Rube into the notes when you know he's not going to be here.
I mean, I talked with him about it.
But yeah, tough break for WF West there. Was that just a typical like second round of state baseball playoffs games where everybody's throwing their number 2s and maybe number 3 pitchers?
I believe so.
Yeah. Because they started Grady Westland, and then they went to who did they go to next? They
Hudson
eventually
McCallum.
went to Coleman, and then I can't remember who they threw in the middle. Oh, they threw McCallum.
McCallum's got an inning on
Yeah,
here.
Hudson McCallum. Yeah, it's just uncharacteristic for WF West to blow a 5-0 lead and then to give up 6 runs in the 7th. I mean, I know your pitching is, but they've had good pitching depth all year. Where Westland and Coleman would be ones on a couple, on some other staffs. But yeah, this was the eye opener of the baseball weekend for sure.
All right. And then number 6, Tumwater. Too many errors, too many uncharacteristic mistakes in a first round loss to number 11 Port Angeles over in Sela. They lost 6-4 in 10 innings. Dylan saw some glimpses between softball action. Chatted with Lyle overwards. Nice flex.
Yeah.
How'd they look?
4 errors, got picked off 3 times, and they got called for an interference on the base paths, I believe.
Oh, that is uncharacteristic.
You're just not going to let ball games like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And credit to Port Angeles. They, if I remember correctly, Tumwater actually took a 3-0 lead in that game, and then Port Angeles kind of immediately bounced back to tie it. Tumwater did, I believe, tie it in the bottom of the 7th. So it was just kind of your classic back and forth, 2 evenly matched teams at state. And yeah, at the end of the day, just some of those mistakes just ended up coming back to haunt them.
All right. Moving over to the 2Bs. Adna was the only team to make it to the quarterfinals. Pirates defeated number 12 Riverview 3-1, but then they lost number 4 Soton 5-1. Any thoughts on the end of Adna's season?
I mean, obviously, every end of a season that doesn't end in, whatever a team considers success ends as a what if. But it makes me wonder what if, that 7th inning against Owako had gone different, and had they been able to host. I talking to Jake Overbay afterwards. That Asotin game, it just sounds like they just ran to a lefty who was kind of on.
Yeah,
sounds like Asotin has 2 good arms, and high school baseball, if you got 2 good arms, they're the 4 seed for a reason, and they're now in the final 4 for a reason.
Especially at the 2B level. If you got 2 kids that can deal,
And if you got 2 lefties that can deal.
I wasn't sure if the first kid was a lefty, but they
okay.
faced the lefty, is what I was told.
Gotcha.
They
okay.
they put some good at bats up against him, but yeah, I never caught a name either. So
No,
shout out
they
to the
had
lefty
I
from
was
the
following
Southern.
along Game Changer. They had a couple innings where they had like a runner on second, runner at third, but just could never drive them in. And just a couple innings where, if you get the one timely hit, maybe things start trending your way, but could never come. You do go back to that district title game and you think, if they hold on, they're probably hosting and they probably end up with a different draw, but maybe the result ends up the same. Who knows?
All right. Toledo and Napine were both run ruled in the first round by Jenkins High School out of Chewelah for Toledo and Liberty Bell High School out of Winthrop for Napavine. Any thoughts on these teams and their demises?
That Napavine game, it was either tied or close. I don't remember exactly. Before Liberty Bell put up 10 in an inning.
Yeah, it was close. I
And-
can't remember I think it was close.
Sometimes that happens in baseball, right? But you really hate for it to happen. In a state playoff match. It's just a bad time. a bad day to have a bad day, or in this case, very particularly one bad inning. That's kind of what Brian Demmer said after he literally said the wheels fell off.
And then Toledo never got off the ground in a positive note against Jenkins. They were already down, I think, 4-1 or 5-1 after one, and they just could never recover from that. The pitching kind of let Toledo down in the postseason. I felt like Riker Sorensen and Nico Costa were fine and were doing well enough in the regular season, but they never got their footing right in the playoffs.
All right. And before we move past baseball, Zach will be happy to know that number 3, Ilwaco, was upset. Don't hit.
You damn straight. Frauds!
Hey,
Confirmed.
Jeez, they're just children. We do have a quote from Zach after he learned that news.
Everyone can eat shit. A big bag of shit.
Frauds.
So
I don't think I've met anyone that feels this strongly about Ilwaco in either direction.
I don't think anybody in Ilwaco is just invested in the fate of the Ilwaco baseball team. But tough break for Ilwaco too. But baseball season is officially over as far as this podcast is concerned.
Shout out to Jenkins Shawila for making the Final Four.
Don't give Shawila any credit.
I found out this final from when Nayland tweeted out the Saturday morning at State Softball, and Kevin, because the night before, Kevin Schultz, the WFL soccer coach, and I were talking, and I was bringing up how Ilwaco were frauds. And then,
you're just working that into every
Shameless
conversation.
plug.
Huh?
And then Jordan tweeted the final that Friday Harbor won, and Kevin immediately replied, and he goes, "I'd like to know Zach's thoughts on this." And I said, my reply back, confirmed frauds.
Harsh. You're gonna run into one of those tough fisherman children. He's gonna have a big hook and like a raincoat, a rain slicker over him. And you're from Iowa, so this will be unfamiliar to you,
right? Because
their team photo-
there's no lakes in Iowa.
Their team photo is on a boat on the WI website.
That's kind of sick.
Pretty sweet. Jordan said he's been on the boat before.
That is pretty sad. All right, you know what?
How would Jordan even know
Also, they couldn't host. These games were in Castle Rock for some reason.
These games were in Castle Rock.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, you know what? I for one, am sad to see Ilwaco season come to a close like that.
I'm not.
I would have loved to see them one of the kids maybe like with a fishing net. You know how the stereotypical like drawing of a hobo, there'll be like a stick with a bag on it, but instead of a bag of clothes, it's the fishing net with the state championship trophy in it.
You
like
could just also have like a picture like a fisherman. You don't have to work the homeless into this.
Well, it doesn't have to be. No. I'm saying one of the
We
players.
have a nationwide problem.
It's an audio podcast. I got to describe visually what I'm thinking of. I'm not saying the homeless person brings the trophy on the boat. I'm saying how about this SpongeBob in that one episode with his hobo stick?
It's called a bindle, first of all.
I didn't know that. We learn something new every day.
You really didn't know it was called a bindle?
Yeah, Phineas and Ferb taught me what an aglet is. I'm learning what a bindle is today. It's a great day.
I like how your first thought of like during baseball and softball season, there's a thing attached to a stick, and you're like, a hobo.
I'd like to clarify. Phineas and Ferb taught me what an aglet was like 15 years ago, not today. I didn't watch that episode today.
If you are...
Aaron was giving me crap yesterday for going to see the Lilo and Stitch movie. We took Lauren's little sister.
Wait, did you really see the live action Lilo and Stitch movie?
Yeah, Lauren's sister's 12.
Oh, is it good? What are you?
Take her to see Sinners, you coward.
With Lauren's 12-year-old sister.
Do you have takes on the live action Lilo and Stitch?
I was not. It's fine. I don't know. I have low standards, and even by my standards, it was.
Well, yeah,
I'd rather watch the
you're
B
an
movie.
adult man.
Yeah.
You went to see the Lilo and Stitch movie. I'd say your standards are pretty much out the window.
The B movie does have a couple gems. Patrick Warburton's in that. He's hilarious as always. I did watch that recently.
Nothing else at the cinema this week, huh?
The last season of Big Mouth came out, but I don't think you'd be into that.
Oh, I've heard. I haven't watched Big Mouth. I like all the like.
I'm a big fan of shows that like know they're dumb but lean into it.
That's like a Nick Kroll joint, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Like it knows it's
Nick Kroll's
stupid,
funny.
and it just doesn't take it. It just leans into it. Big fan of that.
All right.
Agreed.
Anyways,
This
All right, we're off the
podcast
rails.
brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center, locally owned, family owned, here to stay. Check out Elam's at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia. They've got all kinds of good deals, sick stuff. Pack your bindle over there, shell out some coin, get yourself a nice dining room set, maybe some office furniture, a new desk, office chairs. Or maybe just some like accent lighting for your home, or brighten things up a little bit.
What's your office setup at home like? Or do you sit on the couch?
I've got my video editing office in a back bedroom where I've got the 2 screens set up, but I don't go out there all the time. Most of the time, I'm just at the kitchen table with my at the head of the kitchen. I got a really big kitchen table, but I don't have anybody to eat at the kitchen table.
For just because? Is it like, did you inherit it? This big kitchen table?
It kind of came with a house, yeah. So it's like an 8-foot kitchen table, and so I sit at one end of it, and then there's like a TV at the other side of the room, and so yeah, I'm mostly just in the kitchen. But sometimes I will also work from the couch in the living room.
Cozy.
Yeah, it is pretty cozy. And sometimes, if it's nice out, I'll sit outside.
Yeah, it's been nice out recently.
Yeah, but anyway, if you didn't just have a bunch of furniture come with your home and you need to fill your home, check out Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Visit elamshf.com to see more of their deals. A quick state tennis check-in. Centralia's Xander and Jacoby Corbin finished second in the 2A state doubles tournament. WF West's Javen, no last name mentioned.
Javen Hahn, my bad.
Finished 7th. WF West's Emma Hamilton finished 1 win shy of a medal. And Tumwater's Bodie Jackson went 0-2 in the state tournament. Is he a surfer? What's...
Well, if he's a surfer...
That's a hell of a name.
He has
Bodie
a last
Jackson.
name, okay?
Is the Corwin brothers, like Aaron from your time, like is that probably the best finish of any like state of any like tennis doubles or singles at state that you can recall?
One of the Kahn brothers won it back in would have been the 2000s, 2007, 8 probably. Kashif Khan was a state doubles champion. I can't remember who his partner was. I don't think it was his brother Yasser.
That's a lit name. Yasser?
Yasser and Kashif, yeah, they were both great tennis players. Yasser could have won a state individual tennis title his senior year. He was a WF West kid, probably like class of 2012, I think. But he was also the catcher on the baseball team, and that was when WF West had really good baseball teams.
Yeah.
And they were, I wrote a big story on it, but it was like him debating whether he was going to go to state tennis or state baseball because back they were at the same time at
those are the same
Seattle.
weekends,
and he went for baseball. They did not win a state title. They got 3rd, I think. But like when Yasser was in school, his senior year, I went to cover one of their matches, and he just like washed the kid. And it was like the number 2 tennis player in the league, probably districts. And that kid probably got a trophy in state. But I remember asking him about like what he did in practice to like get some competition. And he was like, yeah, his coach, Jack State, was the coach back then. He was like, yeah, Yasser will just play our doubles team. And I was like, how does it go? He's like, well, the doubles team doesn't stand a chance.
That's epic.
So, like, yeah, Yasser and Kashif were both very good. There's been some pretty good tennis players. But that's the only tennis champion I can think of was Kashif. And I can't remember who his doubles partner was.
But no one from Centralia probably finished that high.
Not that I remember. But yeah, good run for the Corwin boys. Any other tennis thoughts? You want to talk about Americool heating and cooling, which we could use in here because it is toasty.
It's a little toasty.
It is toasty in here.
This room's just been baking all day. But Americool heating and air conditioning provides full-service HVAC installation, services, and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee on everything they do. Your comfort is their business. Give them a call for all your heating and cooling needs at 360-669-8778 or visit west.americoolonline.com. And finally, we got a track. What's the state track is coming up?
Starts tomorrow.
It's literally the last thing on the schedule.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I was like, oh, this last weekend you guys will have some track and some baseball, and now you guys will have some track.
Just have some track.
So, all right, track is in Mount Tahoma High School in Tacoma for the 2As, 3As, and 4As.
Yes.
And Zapeful Stadium in Yakima. I said Davis or Eisenhower?
Eisenhower.
At
with a question mark. You seem more confident than me. I think it's
Eisenhower.
Eisenhower and Davis, Zach's 2 favorite presidents.
Nice. Good job. That was well done.
Which begin Thursday. Yakima has, of course, the 2Bs, the 1Bs, and the 1As. Last year, we had Zach produce his lead pipe locks of the week heading into the state track meet. Zach, would you be interested? I don't know why we're asking. Like,
Yeah, I don't
Zach's
know
gonna
why
be
you're
like,
asking. Of course, I'm going to run it back.
Give a hot
It's a
take
high
on
bar.
track.
Went
Like,
5-1-1 last year.
so yeah, we'll jot these down. I will jot them down as you list them off. But yeah, what are your sure bets? You're going to be just like Randy Moss on Pardon My Take, giving like Preakness previews.
I don't remember. Wait, Moss went on Pardon My Taken? Like
Randy Moss, the like the horse racing guy.
Oh, I thought we were talking about
the white Randy Moss.
Oh,
I was thinking of the Minnesota Vikings.
I was thinking of the football Randy
Joe
Moss.
Buck. That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
Yeah, different Randy Moss.
Okay. All right, so 5 lead pipe locks of the week. In
Trademarked.
2B boys, there's an Onalaska throwing trio of Justice Werner, Ethan Thayer, and Morgan Allen. They are all 3 in the shot put and discus. All 3 of them will finish top 8 in one of those 2 events.
Okay, so Justice Thayer and Allen from Onalaska, and they are going to be what now?
Top 8 in either the shot put or the discus.
Okay, what Morgan Allen?
Morgan Allen.
I've said this before, but God damn it,
Yes.
that's a country music singer.
100%.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen just hit number 1 on the Billboard.
Yeah.
No one cares about Morgan Wallen. Well, clearly people do.
Well, I don't. But
I don't.
I'm just relaying what I saw.
But the people do.
Yeah.
2A girls.
Is this going to be a Tumwater take?
This is going to be, one of them will be a Tumwater take, one of them will be a WF West take. 2A girls. Tumwater's 4x2 relay will set the state record.
Okay, that's a spicy take.
I don't know what it is, but they're going to set the state record.
Okay.
But they're going to beat it.
All right, so 2A girls, Amanda Bennett she will win a state javelin title and finish top 5 in pole vault.
Okay. All right, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess.
Well,
the Onalaska one I'm counting as 3.
Does that count as 1 or 3?
No, it counts as 1.
Okay. All right. So you got 3 lead pipe locks. Any other lead pipe locks?
Let's go to 1B boys.
Really? All right.
Oakville's Lewis Kozer, who is the reigning state discus champion, will repeat as the state discus champion.
All right.
And then 2B girls. See, this one I'm kind of because I can go in a couple ways with how I want to with this take, because it's either going to be 2B girls discus or 2B girls shot put.
You're really just doing the Brian Windhorst flipping your fingers over there.
I mean,
like, why would they do that? Why would Zach make
What
this take?
is going on at Eisenhower High School?
Let's see. I'm going to go with. See, you would think I'd go Carson Freeman, but no. I'm going with Rainier's Janess Blackburn will win the 2B girls discus. She will upset Carson Freeman.
Okay. What a thing to pick an upset in. Like, is Freeman going to, is you going to fall off a cliff on a ride there? Like, what's going to happen? Whoa. What's the difference right now? This is no disrespect to Janess Blackburn, but what is the difference on athletic.net between the two of them?
I think it's like 4 inches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not big.
All right, I'm going to pull this up. Give us your last lead pipe lock.
Was that 4? Oh, wait, no. That's 5. Oh, yeah. So, no,
that's
5.
That's 5.
Screw it. We'll do a 6 one. I'll go 1A boys. Carson Shaw did not medal in either the 110 or the 300 hurdles last year. Gets 2 medals this week.
Oh, Blackburn actually has the best distance in the discus, apparently.
But Freeman beat her at districts by, I think, 4 inches. I think was the
C2BL championships. It looks like she won it at 139.5.
And then districts Freeman got her at I think Freeman threw 136. I want to say Blackburn threw 132. I can't remember. I can't remember the exact distances.
Let's see. Discus. Where's it not listed? Oh, there it is. Yeah, she won discus, Blackburn 139.5 and Freeman 136.4 at the league meet. So, all right, yeah, that would that be an upset if she goes in with the best mark though? I don't know. We'll see. All right, any other lead pipe blocks?
Yeah, I just said it. 1A boys. Carson Shaw did not medal in either the 110 or the 300 hurdles last year. He medals in both this year.
All right. No, what's the pole vaulter from Ani? What's his deal?
Luke Barrick.
Yeah.
He's going for the state meet record, which I think is like 15.5, 15.6. He cleared 15.1 at districts. He's good, and I wouldn't be stunned if he gets it, but I'm not overly confident to say he's going to get it.
Okay.
15.5 is quite the bar to clear. But he will put on a spectacle, I will say that.
He's just the Chaz Michaels of 2B pole vaulting, or what?
Well, I mean, he's the only one that has cleared 15 feet of the 2B field.
Was it good for you, Yakima? Like, what are we doing here? All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here?
No. Athlete of the Year banquet is next Tuesday, June 3rd at Jester's at 6:00. All are welcome to attend.
Are you sure?
We have no entry fee.
Okay.
There's no pay at the door.
Dylan is shaking his head over
I don't
here.
think all are welcome.
I'm sure people are probably
If you are invited, you will have gotten an
if you were
invitation.
invited, you'll get, but I'm sure people.
Respectfully.
Yeah, I'm sure people may just show
yeah.
up. I guarantee you some people will just show up.
What do you think is going on around
Yeah,
here?
me. I'm going to show.
Well, yeah, I'm going to show up. Will Aaron show up? Probably not.
No, I'll be out of town. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Stay tuned for the wrap up next week and track coverage and some other things.